It's my pleasure to have on with us today. His name is Billy Mills. He's the only American to win the Olympic gold medalist in the 10,000-meter run in Tokyo, Japan in 1964. He held a world record 6-mile run in San Diego, California in 1965. In 1984, he was inducted to the United States Olympic Hall of Fame. And by 1990, 3 other halls of fame he was inducted into. 1995, he received the Jackie Robinson Humanitarian Award. A friend of mine, Jim Caridi, had attended an event, and you were one of the speakers there, Billy, and he said that he heard other speakers and nobody really touched his life or made a difference in what was said like you did, and maybe some of the message. What is it we do with children today? What is the message you're giving?
I think primarily the message I attempt to give is a little secret on how their dreams can come true. The secret was given to me by my dad when I was 12 years of age. My dad died when I was 12 years of age. I followed the secret twofold: to win a gold medal at the Olympic Games and also to find just personal happiness within myself. But the secret basically is find your desires, know yourself, and succeed. With desire comes self-motivation. With self-motivation comes work. With work comes success. And it was signed anonymous when my dad gave it to me. And ultimately, as I matured with his help and help of other people, I realized, where do you find your positive desires as a young person? You look into the areas of drama, music, dance, creative writing, reading, sports, anything that's constructive and enjoyable.
Exposure. Expose yourself to many events, and you never know what you can pick up from those events.
Absolutely, and one of the most effective ways of exposing yourself is reading. I've traveled to over 60 different countries as an athlete, and I read about every country I was going to before I arrived, and then the exposure and the knowledge that gave me. But when do you know if you found a positive desire? And that's the key. Something happens inside of you. What happens is you unleash incredible passion, and it's the passion within you that self-motivates you.
If you had to define success in your eyes after all the success, I mean, when you won that gold medal in Japan in 1964, people were saying you had wings on your feet. You know, the speed at which you did that and your desire for that race was huge. I mean, obviously something had to build up to that. But after all that, what do you see as your definition of success?
I would say, number one, a degree of accomplishment. I would also say this, that I would challenge people in a sense to live their life like a warrior. As an Olympian, we've seen frequently throughout the media the Olympic circles. And the Olympic circles represent the continents of the world. Every continent of the world has their warriors, and there are female warriors. A warrior does 4 things, lives his life in 4 areas. Number one, a warrior assumes self-responsibility. As you become responsible for yourself, you reach out and you help other people become responsible. Number 2, a warrior humbles himself or herself to all creation. We're no better, we're no less than the smallest living blade of grass. But as we find that balance of humility, we never lose sight of the secret, that pursuit of excellence takes us to a higher plateau. The third thing a warrior does is learns the power of giving. And the first thing you learn to give is respect to yourself so you can respect your fellow man.
Excellent.
Then the warrior takes responsibility, humility, the power of giving, and centers it around his or her core of spirituality. I imagined for 4.5 years winning the gold medal at the Olympic Games, breaking the tape, winning the 10,000-meter run. And then I just didn't have friends. I chose friends who were also pursuing the excellence, who were also pursuing the passion within them to achieve. Right. And that became my support system. There are 4 basic spiritual needs we all crave to meet in our life. Number 1, we all crave to be unique. And if you're agnostic or atheist, call them human needs, but listen and follow them. Number 1, we crave to be unique. Number 2, we crave to belong. Number 3, we have this uniqueness, this craving within us to make a creative difference in our life. And number 4, we crave to understand. So in a sense, the simple secret that my dad left me with was find your desires, know yourself, and succeed. With desire comes self-motivation. With self-motivation comes work. With work comes success. Where do you find those positive desires? Sports, drama, music, the arts, creative writing, reading, anything constructive and enjoyable. How do you know? You unleash that passion. That passion takes you to a uniqueness and accomplishment. You've met the first spiritual step in your life. You bring that uniqueness to the group. You empower the group empowers you. From that dual empowerment, you make a creative difference in your life. From that creative difference, it brings you understanding. By pursuing that, ultimately I found happiness.
Ask any truly successful people how they've done what they've done, and they'll tell you, I worked hard, I made mistakes, I learned from them, I started again, and I worked harder. Ask any truly successful people why they've done what they've done, and they'll tell you for the love of it. High achievers have a dream and follow it. Sometimes they have many dreams. But whatever they do it with passion. This is true no matter what field or profession they're in. There are people who are passionate about office products, about bicycles, about entertainment, about oil fields, about scientific discoveries, about teaching, sports, politics, about education, about plumbing supplies. People find their passions in the strangest places, but when they do, they are rewarded with great riches. In the diamond industry, miners have to sort through 23 tons of raw material to come out with 1 carat of gem-quality diamond. And they don't always find the diamond right away. It takes much time, patience, and dedication to wash away the less valuable material and get to the gem beneath. The miner's mission is to keep washing, stripping, and sorting the raw material until they find the gem. We are all like those miners, washing, stripping, and sorting our own raw materials so that we may discover the gem within. That gem is our calling in life, our mission, our purpose, our passion. It's what keeps us going when the odds are against us. Listen to how Dr. Mortimer Mishkin of the National Institute of Mental Health describes what keeps him going every day.
It's a desire to discover something that has never been discovered before, to know something that no one else has ever known, to make clear some mystery and magic that has not been possible to clarify before. Either you have wonder, either you believe that these questions are simply awesomely interesting, or you don't. If you really are fascinated by how it's possible for the mind to comprehend the universe, how it's possible for the mind to create art and music and poetry, how it's possible to think thoughts and dream, if you have these questions, then you ask, what can I do to help figure these things out? You've got to have this sense of wonder. Otherwise, there's no sense in going into this field.
Obviously, Dr. Mishkin is someone who loves what he does, who finds his work simply awesomely interesting. It's one of the reasons he is so good at what he does. Having a passion for what you do is not limited to any particular field or profession. An accountant can be just as passionate about crunching numbers as a scientist is about solving the mysteries of the universe. You could be a doctor or you can be a restaurateur. Vincent Sardi, owner of one of New York's most famous and treasured eateries, made the choice between those two professions when he was in college. His parents, who started the restaurant in 1921, wanted him to be a professional person, a doctor. He went to Columbia University as a pre-med student, worked part-time in the restaurant, and here's what happened.
The more I worked here, the more I fell in love with Sardi's. I switched my curriculum to business administration, and when I graduated, I came to work here full-time. It was and is a hands-on operation. If you asked me what my hours were, I was just here. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't be able to do it. But that goes for anything you do. If you feel that you're working, then you really don't enjoy what you're doing.
It's not what you choose to do, but why you choose to do it that's important. We spend more than 96,000 hours of our lives at work. Who wants to spend that many hours in drudgery and frustration? Certainly not Dr. Frank Field, CBS TV's noted meteorologist and health and science expert, who offers this insight.
I think the key to succeeding in any business is looking forward to each day's work as though you're doing it for nothing, literally. There's nothing I enjoyed more than New York. When I was at NBC years ago, on a cold winter day, walking the 6 or 7 blocks from where I lived, going up to my office on a Sunday morning. Looking down from my office at the ice skating rink with the snow falling, going through the mail, typing the responses. Then my wife would call and say, "Lunch is ready," and I'd walk back through the snow. I'd finish my lunch, kiss her, and run back to the office. It was fun. Here was an opportunity to make a good living and have a certain amount of creative freedom combined with the joy of doing something I loved. To be able to do your hobby and making a living at it is the most wonderful thing in the world.
If your purpose in life is to make money and have lots of expensive toys and perks, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with being rich or wanting to be able to afford the things that give us pleasure. Perhaps that's why you're listening to this program. to learn the secret money-making methods of the rich and famous. Sorry to disappoint you, if you ask successful people to describe themselves in terms of their success, they rarely talk about money, or if they do, it's mentioned as a byproduct of their achievements. Years ago, my goals were financial. It was making the most money and getting the most materialistic items. And then eventually it became goals in other areas, helping other people achieve success through books and through radio and through other markets. Now my goal for success is spending more time with my children and my wife. And once I do that, that's where I determine my success. That's where my happiness comes from. So a lot of times everybody's definition of success changes. And that change comes from a money-focused goal and definition of success to an accomplishment, challenge, giving back to people, spending time with our families kind of definition of success. And that's the difference. See, because once we're focused on something we love to do, whether it's spending time with our family and something we love to work on, our job, then the money is a byproduct. It's a come along. It comes on automatically. When our focus is solely on the money, we're missing tremendous opportunities out there. John James is a psychotherapist, an ordained clergyman, a business consultant, and co-author of Passion for Life. It took him many years of searching before he found his niche, before he discovered what he had to offer that made him feel good about himself. Here is his perspective.
Within us all is a hunger to transcend our barriers, our inadequacies, and our problems, and want to reach for something that's right and healthy. Now, that hunger is within us like a spark that we need to ignite. We're all hungry to be on a path with heart, which means we're emotionally committed to what we're doing, to bringing about something that's important to us in the future, something that has meaning beyond comfort, something that gives us a sense of purpose in life.
According to James, there are 5 steps we can take to find our purpose. First, listen within. Discover your dreams, your passions, and what is really exciting to you. Move towards those things that are positive and motivating and to which you find yourself continually drawn. Second, begin the adventure. Set clear goals and plans. Take some time to really think these plans through and take the steps to get yourself started. You can ask yourself several questions to begin. What do you want to do that will enhance your life? How will you know when you've made it? What are you willing to do to bring it about? How might you sabotage yourself, and what can you do to prevent yourself from getting in your own way? For instance, you might set a positive goal, then sabotage yourself by getting so busy you have no time to move toward it. You might counteract that sabotage by setting aside a specific time of the day or week during which you'll take at least one step towards your goal, no matter how small. The third step to finding your purpose is this: persevere. It's easy to get discouraged when plans don't produce immediate results, and it's easy to get distracted. As we reach for new goals, we have to keep asking ourselves, is this a path with heart? Is this the one I want to take, or am I just doing this to please someone else? If it's truly a path with heart, it's possible to persevere through almost any adversity. Fourth, learn the positive lessons. Going through adversity often teaches us necessary survival techniques, but if we're not careful, we may learn only cynical lessons such as you can't trust anybody, or if you want something done, do it yourself. We need to search out the lessons that help us reach a positive goal. You can learn something good from every process. And fifth, incorporate these lessons into your life. There's no greater teacher than experience. Everything that happens to us contains a lesson that can help us find a path with heart. We must learn to recognize these lessons and use them to help us move forward in the direction we choose to go. We all know someone like this. Sarah is bright, intelligent, funny, hardworking. She got good grades in school and people like her, yet she drifts from one job to another, enthusiastic for a short while about each opportunity, then unhappy and restless. When you ask her why she keeps moving around, she answers, "I just don't know what it is I want to do." Sometimes the choice comes easily. Bruce Jenner discovered sports in elementary school. Lieutenant Colonel Dennis Kremble was 6 years old when he took his first airplane ride, and from then on he knew that he would spend the rest of his life flying. Some people have obvious musical or artistic talents that point them in a definite direction early on. For most of us, however, the choices concerning what we want to do in life are more difficult to make. Joe Montgomery didn't follow a straight line to becoming a successful business owner. Montgomery was very much a wanderer during his early years. He dropped out of college, he went down to the Caribbean to sail other people's boats and try to figure out what he wanted to do. While there, he met a man who worked on Wall Street, who told Montgomery to give him a call if he ever wanted a real job. He did, and a year later he was working for what is now Prudential Beige. Montgomery soon realized that Wall Street wasn't for him. What he really wanted to do was make something. That desire turned into reality when he became aware of a newly forming niche known as leisure time industries, such as camping and bicycling. Since he had always been an avid cycler, Montgomery left Wall Street and combined his business knowledge and his love for making things by starting Cannondale Corporation, which manufactures high-quality, lightweight, aluminum frame bikes. Like most successful people, Montgomery uses the knowledge he gained from all his previous experience as a foundation for his ultimate endeavor. Even though he knew a career on Wall Street wasn't for him, he used his time there to absorb information for future use. Having taken a roundabout route himself, Montgomery has advice for others who may be searching and wandering.
When we're young, we think of ourselves as immortal. We don't think about the fact that we're running out of time at 18 and at 22, just like we are at 52, which is what I am now. Young people fail to imagine their lives as they want them to be. They need to say, what do I want my life to look like when I'm 40, when I'm 60? It's purposeful daydreaming. And you've got to put it on paper. Write it down. You need a plan. It's like a painting. You need to be drawing what it's going to look like for you down the road. You may change it 1,000 times, but the more detailed you can make that picture in your mind, the more likely you are to achieve. If you know what the future is going to be like, the chances are you're going to be better prepared for it. If you design your future, the likelihood of your achieving your goal as it evolves and changes over time is 5, 10, maybe 50 times more likely to happen.
It's not only the young who can benefit from purposeful daydreaming. This is a valuable tool for anyone who's unsure of which road to take, which calling to follow. Charles Garfield has made his life's pursuit studying achievers and how they work. Author of several books on the subject, including Peak Performers and Second to None, Garfield recommends 2 ways to find your mission. Not only what area you want to work in, but what you want to accomplish once you're there. The first way involves looking back into your past and thinking about the times you did your best work, the times you were most fulfilled, the times you felt best about yourself and what you were doing. Write down what you remember and look for the similarities among the situations. Here's why this is an effective approach, according to Garfield.
Well, most folks who are not high achievers by nature or by predilection will look back and see those times as due to God, to good luck, or to somebody else's assistance. They won't own their own participation in it. People need to go back to the times in which they've done their best work and ask themselves what was common to the different situations. They usually find that they had a similar role in each of those occasions where their best work occurred. Those consistent roles end up being the common thread that suggests what your best arena of peak performance is likely to be.
For instance, suppose you are a computer repair person who normally works alone, making more contact with machines than with people. You're looking to make a change in your life, but you don't know what else to do. You make a list of the experiences that have been most successful and given you the most satisfaction in all areas of your life. Going over your list, you realize that the times that you were most fulfilled were when you were coaching the Little League team and when you were sharing your skills and abilities with others, either explaining what you had done or showing them how to do it themselves. So when you look back at the times you are most proud of the work you've done, you are motivating and teaching others. This may be a good direction for you to follow. You might want to explore such possibilities as becoming a computer maintenance and repair instructor, a computer consultant, or even a technical trainer for computer salespeople. There are many directions in which you could go. The idea you had in your mind that computer repair was the only thing you could possibly do was obviously false. Once you've discovered the areas in your life and work that give you consistent satisfaction, you can make choices and decisions that will lead you in that direction. According to Garfield, the first step you take is internal. You begin by creating a visual image of a positive future. The next step is to clarify your mission, to create a statement of purpose that says, this is what I want to do and this is why I want to do it. This statement should also be written down so that you can refer to it when things are tough and times are slow. It should answer the question we all have at various times in our lives, why am I doing this? Jack Canfield, another leading expert on peak performance, says that it's easy to get excited about any goal, dream, or passion. It's a lot harder, though, to actually sit down and do the work necessary to succeed, as he now explains.
The question really is how to stay pumped when you meet adversity or when the going gets dull. You've got to go back to your vision. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? You may be doing it to make a difference or to make $1 million, but there's some purpose behind your behavior. Behavior is always purposeful. Even a kid with a knife in an alley who's trying to get your money has a purpose. It's when you lose sight of your purpose that you get bored and stuck.
Many people who feel temporarily bored, overwhelmed, or stuck in a rut don't need to make large-scale changes. Sometimes all it takes is a commitment to making the most of the situation in which you currently find yourself. I've been in sales all my working life. I sell every day. I love selling. And at one point when I was younger, I was a sales juggler, selling several different products at once. I sold home improvement products over the phone at night. On the weekends, I sold real estate. And during the day, I sold advertising for a startup fashion magazine. I actually made in one day 149 cold calls and closed out the entire issue for advertising sales. I was used to a fast-paced and quick sale. Then I took a full-time job selling office equipment. The first year was difficult for me. The quick sale was gone. This was a service-oriented business. The sales cycle can take anywhere from 30 days to several months before you got an order. So as an average performer, I had my good months and I had my not-so-good months. But I just felt something was missing. For the first time in so many years of selling, I questioned whether this was the right field for me. Then one day I read an article that suggested interviewing satisfied customers on a tape recorder and using these testimonials to show other prospects how you might help them. I decided to try it, and it turned my selling life around. Now when prospects said, I'm not familiar with your brand name, or I can get it for less, I could say, I can appreciate how you feel. A lot of people felt the same way you do right now, but here's what my customers say now after using our products for several months. See, the key here was being different, was trying to differentiate myself from the competition and let my own customers voice their enthusiasm and satisfaction in the benefits they've received from our product and company. My prospects were impressed, and I got totally pumped up hearing firsthand the benefits my customers were receiving. Once again, I became enthusiastic about selling, and my enthusiasm was catching. Where I'd been selling 2 products a month, I was now selling 10. For a year, I couldn't get into the business, and then the business got into me. Sometimes we're so busy looking around for what else we could be doing, we fail to see the opportunities right in front of us. I renewed my passion for sales by finding a unique and creative way to differentiate myself from the competition. The testimonials from satisfied customers that I was playing for prospective buyers did more than assure them that they'd get the service they deserved. It put my energy and enthusiasm back on track. Nothing sells like enthusiasm, and customers pick up on that. So before you give up on something about which you were once so passionate, seek out the opportunities you might have overlooked that are right in front of you. Dr. William H. Danforth of Washington University offers this advice.
A lot of people are hesitant to do things because the times don't seem just right, or the situation doesn't seem just perfect. The world has never been perfect. The situation will never seem just right. In the final analysis, you have to act out of determination and courage. You're never assured of success. You have to be willing to say that if things aren't just the way you want them to be, you'll do your best to change them, to make things be the way that you want them to be. You make the most of what you have.
Many times when we're bored, restless, disappointed, or depressed, we assume we have to become another person entirely, to make a 180-degree shift, to do something completely different. This is often a false assumption. Many times it's not what we're doing that's the problem, it's how we're doing it. If you're dissatisfied with what you're doing, take a look at it from a fresh point of view, as if you were a stranger viewing your situation for the first time. Ask yourself, what can I do differently here? What simple step can I make today toward change? Is there some aspect of this job I've not yet explored? What's unique about my skills and personality that can make me stand out from the competition? Sometimes in order to get out of the rut we're in, we need a shock or a shovel. The shock often comes when adversity strikes, when we're maybe going to lose our business, or we lose a tremendous amount of income, or we lose our job. I had a shock of my own, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Sometimes it's not even a shock that you need, it's a shovel. The excitement you crave might be right in front of you. You just need to dig deep enough. Ask yourself, how much do I really know about what I'm doing now? How can I use what I'm doing to help other people? Who could I interview in my company or my industry who can give me a broader view of what I'm doing now? Instead of jumping ship and going somewhere else when the going gets rough, look for ways to improve the situation at hand. Sometimes things come to life when we cultivate them. It's like a garden. If you just sit back and look at it, nothing's going to grow. But if you water it, weed it, and cultivate the seeds, you may be surprised at what you find in bloom. Wherever you find your passion, whether you continue along your present career path or make a complete turnaround, you need to consider the realities of the current economic situation. An old saying has it that the secret to success is in learning to do one thing and doing that one thing better than anyone else. That old saying no longer exactly applies. It's still possible to do one thing better than anyone else, but it is no longer advisable to make that one thing the only thing you do. That kind of narrow focus creates blinders and can actually be a handicap in today's changing world. One of the main reasons people get stuck in circumstances they feel they cannot change is that they don't know what else they could possibly do. They see life as one dreary highway with the same dull scenery always ahead. Successful people see many roads ahead, and if they don't see one they like, they build their own. They know there is more than one way to get where they're going. Finding your passion is like mining for gemstones. It takes a lot of exploration to come up with a rough stone, which must be cut, shaped, and faceted to reveal its brilliance and beauty. The light is dispersed and broken up into spectral colors of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. Without the facets, the stone would have no fire. This fire, caused by the facets, is what makes the diamond so special and valued. We, too, enhance our value and release our inner fire, or passion, when we become multifaceted. This doesn't mean we must be a Jack or Jill of all trades. It means that we must expose ourselves to as much as possible, in as many areas as possible. It means keeping ourselves open to new experiences, and it means having a respect and passion for learning itself. It also means being willing to make the necessary effort, which is the fifth diamond facet. On the road to success, there are no easy answers. There is no shortcut, no promise that you will make $1 million in 10 minutes without even trying. But that's not to say that the road isn't fun and exciting. Once you've found your passion, you're more than happy to put in the effort it takes to make it a reality. So we'll explore the energizing quality of effort when we continue in the next session. I want to welcome somebody this week who I'll tell you a little bit about him. First of all, his name is Arthur Fry, but what he's best known for is what everybody pretty much uses these days. It's called a Post-it note. And he's had 40 years of success developing new products and new business for 3M. He holds the position of corporate scientist and was given the highest form of peer recognition by being elected to 3M's Carlton Society. He was on the team of 2 Golden Step Awards and was elected to 3M's Circle of Technical Excellence. Arthur Fry, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thanks. I'm pleased to be here.
In any invention, there's always people don't see what goes behind the scenes, the marketing, the research, the time and effort that goes into coming up with a solution, how many failures that goes into. I'd like you to talk a little bit about how the whole process, you talked about a critical path, how you designed the whole element of from beginning to marketing of the product in the field, how it worked with the Post-it note, because I think it's fascinating.
Sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about basics of inventions versus innovations. Mm-hmm. An invention is where somebody's discovered a new way of solving a problem. But an innovation doesn't occur until everybody that is affected by that is using it. Now, for instance, Post-it notes are an innovation, but they weren't an innovation when I made the first samples or when we lined up raw material suppliers or we took care of the government regulations, the patent work, lined up manufacturing and marketing facilities and distributors to get them to the customer. they weren't an innovation until the customer was actually using them and had changed the way they communicated in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's an enormous amount of work between that original idea and having it where the people are using it. And every part of that requires a lot of problems that have to be solved. And that's what business is all about. You know, if it were easy to do, people wouldn't need to buy these products or services from us.
Right.
They would do it themselves.
Right. A lot of people might want to ask you this. A lot of people have, well, that was a great idea. I thought of that. And they always see these ideas that are marketed that they had 10 years ago. And obviously action is the key here.
Yeah. I've had people come up to me and say, you know, I had the idea for a self-attaching note, too. And I believe them because when many people are confronted with the same problem, a lot of people will think of a solution.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's a lot fewer number that will go ahead and do something about it and do all the work required to take that idea and solve the problem and then build that into a business. It's a lot of work.
The film, A League of Their Own, tells the story of the first professional women's baseball league formed during World War II. The outstanding athletes in this league endured hardships and even ridicule as they traveled across the country from one baseball diamond to the next. In the movie, one of the league's star players is about to quit the team just before the big playoffs. Her coach, naturally upset, says, "But I thought you loved baseball." The player answers with tears in her eyes, "I do, but it just got too hard." To which the coach responds, "Of course it's hard. If it wasn't hard, everybody would do it." Being successful is hard in many ways. If it wasn't hard, everybody would do it. When we look at successful people, we see the results of their blood, sweat, and tears, and we don't usually see the effort that went before. We look at a successful doctor and don't think about the many years of schooling, internship, and residency before he even started to practice. We read about a successful businesswoman and never realize the considerable work she put in to earn her position. We watch the Olympics and see athletes in peak performance, but we don't see the hundreds of hours of training and preparation for those few golden moments. That's why we give up when we hit rocky patches on our own roads to success. We think, it looks so easy when they did it, I must be doing something wrong, and we give up. Successful people are much more tenacious than that. They know that hard work is part of the bargain. As a matter of fact, they're often suspicious when things come too easily. High achievers are willing to give 110% to put in an uncommon effort to see their dreams become a reality. The purpose of this session is to debunk the myth of the overnight success and to show that ordinary people expending extraordinary effort can be whatever they want to be. You can think about wanting to be successful all you want. You can listen to audio programs and read books. They point the way and they pump you up. They provide tips, tools, and techniques, but they can go only so far. After that, it's up to you. We get out of life what we put into it. Taking action lifts us out of complacency and depression. Putting in effort allows us the chance to make our dreams come true and to show ourselves at our very best. When we know what it means to really work, we know what it means to really live. When I was a sales manager, I inherited a sales rep that somebody said just, couldn't make any sales, would make 50 cold calls a day, and just wouldn't get any appointments after several weeks. Well, I'll take anybody who makes 50 cold calls a day constantly and doesn't give up. Effort is the most guaranteed skill in the world for success because it overcomes a lot of deficiencies. So we worked together, and I found out his skills. Hey, you could teach people skills, what he did on the cold call, what information he needed to gather, what things he was doing wrong that he changed and was able to do right. Well, this sales rep that some people are willing to just throw away became the number, I think it was 26 out of 1,100 sales reps, and then became a sales manager and took my place when I left the company. Years later, I got a phone call from him, and we keep in touch every once in a while, but now he's a regional vice president for a large organization. And he says, Barry, if it wasn't for you, you were the only person who really cared. See, the one common trait that this person had going for him more than anything else was he was willing to put in the time and effort it takes to be successful. All the other things can be learned. Also, a number of years ago, a friend of mine became a salesperson in the insurance industry. Starting a new job in an industry that was new to him was tough. He was feeling down one day because of the difficulties of starting from scratch. A few rejections, as a matter of fact, many, left him disappointed. He didn't know what to do next. He could have used a change in attitude, but me telling him to think positive thoughts was not what he wanted or needed to hear. What he needed was to take action. Almost any action would help. Everyone hates being stuck, feeling that there's no way out of their present situation. Taking positive action, no matter how small, breaks the bind that negative thoughts create. We spoke, and I suggested some actions that my friend might take, such as sending handwritten thank you notes to all his prospects, even those who didn't buy from him. I also suggested he send out some flyers with a just wanted to keep in touch greeting and some educational information relevant to his business. Massive action and constant follow-up. Both of these are great ways to get people to remember your name the next time they have a need for your product or service. Several things happened as a result of our conversation. He took the actions, started working on weekends, reduced his depression, and increased his sales tremendously. So much so that he became his company's #1 new agent in the state and #3 in the country. And I was reminded of 2 excellent methods that I had used to improve my own business. And we both increased our enthusiasm for making the necessary effort to excel in sales. That powerful quality, enthusiasm, is what enables high achievers to keep forging ahead and putting forth the effort day after day. The word enthusiasm comes from the Greek word entheos, which means the God within. Isn't that an apt description? Think back to the times when you've been enthusiastic about something. Didn't it make you feel good, empowered, spirited, as if the God within was giving your life a lift and shine? Enthusiasm is the outward manifestation of our inner passion. It's a zeal for living that buoys our spirit and gives us energy. Enthusiasm can often spur us on to make the effort that will carry us far beyond our current skills or talents. In many instances, we can supersede our deficiencies by turning on an engine of enthusiasm, either physical or mental. 2 elements are essential to foster enthusiasm. The first is learning. The thirst for knowledge should never be quenched. Rather, it should build as you move towards your goals. Children have a natural enthusiasm for learning, which can atrophy during years in an uninspiring educational environment. Rekindling that innate curiosity can remind us that the more we know about something we love, the more enthusiastic we become about knowing more. The second element is accomplishment. Keeping our goals in sight, literally and figuratively, is like the coal to the fire of enthusiasm. Enthusiasm builds with the accomplishment of every task. Seeing the results of our efforts builds up a reserve of enthusiasm, which can be applied to the next task in line. And any proof of our accomplishment, something written, something built, an award, a simple thank you, all motivate us to move on. So enthusiasm not only encourages us to make the necessary effort, it also builds as a result of that effort. Not so long ago, every American's dream was to work hard and eventually become an athlete, a lawyer, a doctor, an artist, a business owner, an entrepreneur. Now every American's dream is to win the lottery. The odds of attaining success in the first dream are high. The odds for success in the second are 1,000,000 to 1. Yet many of us continue to play against the odds, hoping that luck, magic, or miracles will suddenly transform our lives, solve all our problems, and relieve us from despair and depression. One thing has become abundantly clear from all the people interviewed for this program. There is only one surefire antidote for depression, and that is action. Faced with many obstacles, including depression, each achiever profiled here increased his or her effort and met the challenges head on. Why does this approach work? Because when we put in the effort, we know that further along there will be a payoff. It gives us something to look forward to. Effort is the tool with which we build our future. And it doesn't even have to be superhuman effort. Many times, consistent, steady effort will do the trick without an enormous investment of your time and money. For example, if I had to figure out a way to continue my education without investing a lot of money, I'd start out by selecting books that have to do with my interests, with what I want to accomplish. It doesn't have to take hours and hours of your time. You can benefit greatly by dedicating just 15 minutes a day to reading. Keep a pad and pencil nearby and start writing down your ideas. 15 or 20 ideas a day is 100 ideas a week, not including weekends. That's 400 ideas a month, which is over 4,000 a year. Guaranteed, you'll be surprised by what you come up with. Don't worry about whether or not you're making sense or whether or not your ideas are practical. Just put them down on paper. Eventually, you can start sorting them out and pick out those ideas worth following up on. Select audio programs to listen to in the car, when you walk or jog, when you exercise, or when you're doing housework. We have so much available listening time. Subscribe to publications that have anything to do with your business or field of interest. You'll start picking up ideas and inspiration almost immediately. When Mary Kay Ash was at a low point many years ago, she read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and here's what happened.
That book turned me around. It had 13 chapters. I read one every single week and tried to put into effect what that chapter said. By the end of the 13th week, I had turned my whole attitude around. I think it's very important to read inspirational books, like Power Thoughts by Robert Schuller, books that can get you thinking big and wanting to do great things.
So a small investment of time, followed up with consistent effort, can obviously have a big payoff. One hot, humid summer night, my friend Frank and I decided to go down to the courts and play a little one-on-one. We started playing basketball, and I was going for the shots, making a few, missing a few. We're just playing our usual game. Then two guys we didn't know showed up, wanting to use the court. We decided to play 2-on-2. Turned out those guys were really good. Suddenly I realized that if I wanted to keep up, if I wanted to beat those guys, then I had to really hustle, to focus and concentrate, and then add that extra jolt of energy that would take me over the edge. I thought of something Bill Clements, former governor of Texas, had told me. He said,
Energy is the secret to this whole situation. You can be a person of great integrity, of character, and all these other wonderful things, but if you don't have the energy, and if you don't really put your shoulder to the wheel, so to speak, and start pushing, you're not going to get to first base.
I started making more shots. That gave me confidence, made me feel better about my ability to play the game. Then I had to keep it up. I had to analyze what I was doing to make the shots so that I could make it happen again. The more we played, the better I got, and I was making the shots I couldn't come close to making when we started. Even though we didn't have the skills of these two players, our effort helped us win the game. Now, this wasn't an NBA tournament. I mean, Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley have nothing to fear from me, but I improved my game by increasing the amount of effort I put into it. Driving home afterward, Frank and I started talking about the game. I told him about my hustle experience and how that extra energy increased my confidence, which increased my competence. But there was something missing, some step maybe that I didn't use. Frank said, consistency. And I knew he was right. That's it. I'm putting this in the program. Frank looked at me like I was from another planet. My enthusiasm is sometimes a little loud, but this basketball game, for me, was a perfect demonstration of the 4-step formula to success. Hustle leads to confidence, which generates consistency, which sparks competence, and all together they equal success. Let's think about these 4 components for success. First is hustle. To hustle means to adopt the positive attitudes of discipline, desire, and dedication that we discussed earlier, and to give that extra 10% to go beyond what is expected of you. This is not the negative connotation of hustle, which implies underhanded activity. It's the positive sense of the word, which implies a spark of energy, which ignites the second component, confidence. Each time you give yourself that extra jolt of energy, it produces results. You're moving inch by inch towards your goal. The closer you get to your goals, the better you feel about yourself. And the better you feel about yourself, the stronger your ability to repeat your success, which leads to the third component, consistency. Once your confidence starts to build, you can keep it going through practice and repeated performance. The hustle is good for a shot of energy, but it's difficult to maintain. Practice and repetition produce the consistency of performance that distinguishes a champion from a flash in the pan. Maintaining a consistent level of performance is also known as the fourth component, competence. Confidence and consistency often lead to the discovery of abilities we didn't know we had or weren't sure we could develop. Building competence in one area frequently contributes to competence in other areas and dramatically increases our overall probability of success. Another C word, though one to avoid, not embrace, is complacency. The dictionary defines complacency as satisfaction accompanied by unawareness of dangers or deficiencies. We're satisfied with what we've got and unaware of how much more we could have. It's sure easier to stay wherever we are, even if it's not really where we want to be, than to dare to make a change. This reduces our confidence, keeps us from perceiving and receiving opportunities, and stops us from achieving our goals. If that's the way you're feeling, then you definitely need a little hustle in your life. The hustle and the 3 C's of the formula are the foundations of the road to success. We do not see them in any highlight films or any photo ops of a successful person. What we see is the end result, the seasoned professional. Senator Bill Bradley of New Jersey, for instance, has known the meaning of effort ever since he was a young child. Even in high school, he practiced his basketball moves relentlessly. He had the key to the high school gym. He was the only student who did, and he practiced by himself on weekends and holidays. One drill he repeated over and over again. From 5 spots on the court, he'd shoot 25 times. If he didn't hit 22 baskets out of 25 shots, he'd start all over again. He was determined to stay there until it was done and done right, and would even sleep there if he had to. When the roaring crowds watched Bill Bradley play basketball for the New York Knicks, they saw a champion who displayed ease and grace on the court. They had no idea of the practice, discipline, and effort that went into the making of the winning player. Sometimes we witness a one-hit wonder. This term is generally used in the music business to refer to someone who comes out of nowhere, rises to immediate fame with one spectacular hit record, then quickly disappears from the music scene forever. Most of the time, the reason why this kind of success cannot be sustained is that it happens too quickly. The formula for success is sidestepped, and there's no technique to fall back on when the luck runs out, no foundation for the ultimate success. Robert Shook, the author of over 40 books, knows the power of disciplined effort firsthand. Here's what he's learned.
You only live once in this world, and you just have to go for it. But it's hard work. When you see somebody on stage performing and you say, gee, how can I ever do anything that good? You have to remember, that guy probably practiced 10 hours a day for 5, 6, 8, 10, 20 years to get that good. Writing is a discipline. If you write 1 or 2 hours a day, that can be very good. But if you do it 8, 10 hours every day, just think about that. If you just write 1 page every single day, in a year's time, you can have a book done. If you write 3 pages a day, you can have 3 books done.
Writing is not the only area in which Shook applies discipline. He also includes physical exercise in his daily regimen. A writer's work is so sedentary, he feels that if he doesn't exercise, he'd be in the worst condition of any human being in the world. Physical fitness is not that unusual, except that Shook hates to exercise. As he describes it,
it's painful, it hurts, it's like torture, but that's part of the discipline. Fighters have their fighting weight. Well, I have my writing weight. And why am I so disciplined? Because if you just do something over and over again, it's amazing how good you can get. And the more you do it, the more competent you become.
Shook is not the only high achiever concerned with the physical side of life. Although it doesn't seem to be a prerequisite, many of the people interviewed for this program come from athletic backgrounds, are currently involved in fitness programs, or at the very least, use sports analogies to explain their success. One person who believes strongly in the value of physical fitness is the renowned chairman and CEO of Mesa Petroleum, T. Boone Pickens. Pickens calls his company the most physically fit company in America. He constructed a first-class $2 million athletic facility for the company, and the company benefits include use of the gym and participation in the corporate wellness program. It's Pickens' contention that fit employees are more productive, more creative, and more competitive. Pickens expects extra effort from his employees and himself from day one of any project right through its conclusion. To motivate people, he often uses sports metaphors when he speaks, whether it's to a meeting of his shareholders or to one of his employees. Here are his thoughts on preparation, which to him is one of the cornerstones of any successful endeavor, and which requires just as much effort as any other part of a project.
You could set up a booth right here on the corner in front of this building and interview people passing by. You could ask them, would you like to play for the Dallas Cowboys? Probably 1 out of 10 would say, you're darn right I would. Then you would say, let me put this meter on you and see if you would really like to play quarterback as much as Troy Aikman would. I think you would actually have people on that meter who would score higher than Troy Aikman at wanting to play. Not to take anything away from his commitment, but it won't work. And the reason it won't work is because those people are not prepared.
It is Pickens' belief that the lack of preparation causes a lack of confidence, whether it's taking someone out, taking a test, or having to stand up in front of a group. And to Pickens, the best preparation of all is hands-on experience. He explains it this way.
You can read all you want to, but if you've never been there to fly the airplane, you better be a pretty good reader when they say, okay, you're going to fly.
In a speech Pickens often gives to shareholders and to college students around the country, he offers several suggestions to help people who want to get ahead. Here are 5 of those suggestions. Number 1, learn to analyze well. There's no substitute for good research. Number 2, don't be afraid to act. Someone once described the management of a major American corporation to Pickens by saying, they analyze well, and then it's like ready, aim, 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 aim. They never can bring themselves to fire. Take action. Number 3, be a team player. As long as you work for someone, you owe them your allegiance and support. If you find that you're constantly dissatisfied or frustrated, go somewhere else. Number 4, never cheat to win. Business has rules. There's no reason to break them. Honesty and integrity never go out of style. And number 5, don't let success go to your head. No matter how successful you are, don't ever get to where you can't go back to eating hamburgers. A basic truth of life is that what you put into it is what you get back. The reward you get out of any endeavor depends on the amount of effort you put into it. Many people focus on the wrong end of the stick. They're constantly complaining about their job, their relationships, their lives. They feel they're not getting enough out of life. But do they ever ask themselves, am I putting enough in? No, they don't. They're waiting for things to get better, for the economy to improve, for the ship to come in. They're waiting and waiting. Sometimes we fool ourselves and we think we're putting in the effort when we're just really going through the motions. Many people are out of work these days. And I've often heard them say, I sent out 100 resumes and I didn't get any response. I did everything I could. And they think they've put in 100% effort. 100% effort means that you've exhausted every possible opportunity for reaching your goal. If you're looking for a job, 100% would include researching individual companies you want to work for, sending these companies personalized letters, calling to follow up, calling other people in the industry, calling even the company's customers and finding out what they look for, speaking to people who work at the company, learning as much as you can about that company before you go on that interview, and networking with every possible person connected with that organization. 100% effort means telling a potential boss you really want to work for, I'm sure you've got a lot of applicants here, but I believe so strongly in my ability to meet your needs, I'll work for you for 30 days with no pay. Let me prove to you my enthusiasm, my integrity, my effort, and my ability. And in 30 days, evaluate my performance. If it's not up to par, let me go. But when I prove myself to you, I expect to be given the job and paid for those 30 days of work. Now that's putting in 100% effort, and that's what you need to do to succeed in any area of life. In the next session, we're going to turn to the 6th diamond facet, mining your brain power. Since a majority of the effort you put into any endeavor is mental, you can greatly expand your effectiveness by sharpening your mind. When we continue, I'll give you an introductory tour of the fantastic world of the mind and show you how you, like so many of our country's highest achievers, can use your brain power to unlock your hidden potential.